Hi Quilters, I'm Shelley Robson from the Quilted Forest, and it is time for our Project of the Month Challenge for 2024. We are challenging you to pick out 12 projects that you want to get done. These projects can be anything you want. You need to have 12 of them. You need to make a list, number them 1 through 12. The projects can be anything you want. They can be quilting related, like what I'm going to be doing all year, or any kind of general sewing, clothes making, doll clothes making. You can do crafting projects, crocheting, knitting. You could do woodworking, baking, gardening, any kind of project that you want to get done in the year of 2024. Once you have your projects listed on your paper, numbered 1 through 12, what you want to do is come back every month. It'll be on the first of the month, that first week, sometime in that first week of the month, we will pull a number out of the bucket, and that's the project you will work on that month. So let's say in January we pick project number 9. You would look at your list, find out what project number 9 is, and that's the project you'll work on. For my projects, I'm storing them in bins. I have each of the bins marked with a number, but if you don't have space for bins like this, you could put them all in Ziploc bags, number the bags 1 through 12, and then put all of the bags in one bucket, a bigger bucket. Or if you have a drawer or a shelf at home that you want to put all of your projects there, use whatever kind of storage system works best for you. At the beginning of each month, I will show you the progress I've made on my project that I was supposed to be working on. If you don't finish a project any particular month, it's not a big deal. Just keep working at it. Maybe you can get it done. And if there's a bigger project that you are a little worried you won't be able to get it done in a month, you could always work ahead. So if you finish a project, you can maybe do a little bit on one of the other projects just to get yourself a little ahead of the game. Consider joining our Facebook group called The Quilted Forest Friends. We will put posts on there about our project of the month, and you can underneath that post put pictures of your finished projects. In 2024, I wanted to do just a little bit more, so I've actually picked out a bonus project. Now the bonus project is something that's going to take more than a month to finish. It's one of those putsy little projects that you want to work on a little bit at a time because it's going to take a little longer to get done. So I'm hoping that every month I can work on it just a little bit, and maybe by the end of the year I'll have the whole thing done. I'm going to show you each of the projects I've picked out for 2024. Some of my favorite fabrics are the 30s reproduction prints, the Depression era prints, and I collect feed sacks that were original back in the 1930s and that era, and I also collect projects that other quilters have started. I find them at antique stores or estate sales or at secondhand stores. So a lot of my projects this year are pieces that I've been wanting to work on for a very long time, and they've been in my 30s bucket, and now I'm going to get a chance to work on them. So this is project number 1, and these are pre-cut butterflies I found. I paid $45 for the bag, and I just thought these were wonderful. It's got a little idea here of what they're supposed to look like, and they're just all these different prints. And I'm not sure if they're all original feed sack prints. I think some of these might actually also be reproduction prints, but they're a really good mix of colors. I don't know how I'm going to put it together. We will find out this year. Project number 2. This is a quilt top I found at a secondhand store or an antique shop, I can't remember which, and it's partially done. There's a little bit of staining on it, but the blocks are actually pretty nicely done. Some of the corners don't exactly meet, and it was all in parts. Like there's this long section here of this border, and there were some squares in it and pieces, just random things. And the fun thing about this one is I just love all the prints in this one, first of all. But some of the seams were hand sewn and some of the seams were sewn by machine. Probably won't be able to find anything. Oh, see, here's some of the hand sewn. And then some of them were sewn by machine. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And so I don't know how I'm going to put it together. I need to kind of figure out how many pieces there are and what I can scratch out of it. The nice thing about collecting feed sacks all these years is I'll be able to work some of those pieces in and fill in or make projects bigger if I need to. Project number 3. This one is another quilt top I found at an antique store. Again, there's quite a bit of staining on this one. I'm going to try to use a product called Retro Clean and see if I can't get this to get some of these stains off of there. I thought this was really a fun quilt top. A lot of these pieces, like this one, has 2 different yellows, and there's 3 solids and then 3 patterns in each of these stars. There's a few pieces that are really faded that I might have to get rid of. But like I said, I've been collecting these fabrics, so I'll be able to piece that in. This one was all pieced by hand. It's gorgeous. So I don't know what the original intention for this quilt was, but she never finished it, so I'm going to. When I find these projects, I like to think about who started it, why they started it, and why they didn't finish it. What kind of story would the quilt tell me if it could tell me a story? Project number 4 are these cute little blocks. They're T blocks because it looks like a T. There's the T. And these are reproduction prints, I think, or they're actually like, I don't know when these would have been, 1900s maybe, late 1800s. They seem really in good condition. They're hand pieced. Like this piece right here, she pieced the piece to make it big enough to get the whole piece. I thought that was kind of cool. And lots of fun colors. They kind of look like shirts to me. I thought that was really neat pattern. I'm going to put a sashing around these and try to make the project a little bigger. And obviously I think some of these will have to be re-sewn. But we'll see what I can get out of these. Project number 5 is a hexagon quilt. This is not sewn all the way. The bag that I bought this in, I bought this at a secondhand store or an antique store, and it had all these hexy flowers that were already made. There's even a needle in that one. It had this little template that they used, and on the template it says, "Found this on the floor. It is probably your aunt's quilt." I don't know whose aunt, but some aunt somewhere was making a quilt. And it's just wonderful. All the pieces, all the fabrics, just gorgeous. And it's all hand pieced. So I don't know if I will stick with the hand piecing or if I'll do the English paper piecing method. But I've got a bunch of blocks, and then all that she did so far was put it together into this long strip. So I don't know if I'll try to make a quilt out of it or if I'll make some table runners or what kind of project I'll come up with. But these pieces are absolutely beautiful. Look at how she, on this one, got that flower to be in the center of all those. I think I might have to name all these quilts. This one looks like maybe a Mildred did it. My grandmother was named Mildred on my dad's side, and she liked to quilt, so maybe this one will be called Mildred. All right, Millie, go back in there. Project number 6. This is the Lori Holt book from Being My Bonnet, and it's the spelling bee quilt, and I'm making the quilt that's on the cover. I have all of the letters made and some of the blocks that go in between. I think I have about 5 or 6 blocks I have left to finish, and then I have the punctuation left to do. And then, of course, putting it all together. But that should be a fun project to work on. This is one of those projects that if it doesn't get picked till later in the year, I might every once in a while pick out one of the blocks that I need to make and make it so that when I do pick the number, I'm just a little bit closer to getting it done. Project number 7. This is a fun one. These pieces were given to me by my Aunt Lavon, and they're wonderful fan pieces. And then these 9 patches. And the fun thing is I found the note from when she gave it to me, and it says, "These patterns are from Cassie Wignan, wife of Mildred's cousin Bev Wiggin, from Seattle, Washington, given to me in the late 1960s. So this would have been a while back, and my Aunt Levon wrote a note on the bag that she had stored this in, and she said some of the pieces are from 1938, and the note says, "Do not throw away." I suppose this was for her kids if they were cleaning some things out. She's still living. "Do not throw away. Please send these pattern pieces and old quilt pieces to my niece in Forest City, Iowa for her quilting shop. They have value even if they don't look like it." And she had dated it May 24 of 2003. So they're from the 30s, and she gave them to me over 20 years ago. So finally going to do something with them. She will be quite proud. And her mother was Mildred, so I think this quilt is going to have to be called Levon. Project number 8. So these are some wedding ring arcs that I found at an antique shop. And they were all kind of just jumbled into a bag. And I think they had planned something different than a wedding ring quilt because this was tucked in there. So something serpentine like that. We'll have to put it together. I don't know if I will applique these down or if I will try to onto a big quilt or what kind of project I'll make. But all these pieces were so lovely. And again, hand pieced. So somebody put a lot of work into all these pieces. So we want to honor that. And then in the bag there were also a few other kinds of things. And one of them was this cute little, I think this must have been a hot pad or something. And then this block was put on, I think this must be some kind of silk. Or maybe it was made from a tie or something. And then there were a few butterfly blocks. And then there was this cute little ducky block, which had a little hat on it. It was kind of funny. And then there were just some random kinds of pieces. A few butterflies. And then the cool part was all these templates they had made for all the different things. So I had to figure out what all these pieces are for. This one says front of dress. And play around with this a little bit more. The newspapers are from 1938. So this might have also been from my aunt. And I say that because of the dates on it. But I'm wondering if this is one I bought at an antique store. I do that quite a bit. It'll be interesting to look through these papers and find out what were they intending with some of these pieces. We'll have some fun with that batch. Project number 9. This is one I found half put together at a antique store, and it was very poorly pieced. Nothing matched. Everything was out of wonk. And so I had started taking it apart. So it had been sewn on machine, so I just got my seam ripper out and started taking it apart. Nothing was trimmed straight. Everything was kind of jagged, so it just kind of rolled as it laid flat, well, supposedly flat on a table. And I started taking them apart and then putting them back together. So these are the blocks that I've already done. So it's kind of like a string quilt and has these points in the center. And then when the pieces go together, they will make stars. Let me do it this way. It's where the greens meet. They will make stars. And then these will make these circles. And it's going to be really pretty. When I first got it, none of it laid flat. It was just all wrinkly and just kind of bubbled. And so now, hopefully, by me taking it all apart and recutting it and getting it to lay nice and flat, it'll turn out nice. So I'm really kind of excited about this one. I'd kind of even forgotten I had this because I tucked it away and hadn't looked at it in a long time. But I'm going to have fun with that. And I've been using some of my 30s feed sacks I've been saving all these years to cut some of the pieces and make them a little bit bigger, because I think one of the reasons it wouldn't lay flat was because they weren't all the same size. So we're going to fix it, make it better. Project number 10. This is a pile of blocks I found at an antique store. I paid $10. Had an interesting design that I thought was really kind of fun, and I just loved all the fabrics that they used. I think that purple is lovely. And since I collect fabrics like that, this was a no-brainer for $10. I certainly am going to buy these. I'm not sure how I'm going to put them together, and or if they're going to be two separate projects or one, because some of the blocks kind of have a red, white, and blue look, and the other ones are kind of, you know, purple and green, and a lot of fun. But I do like scrappy quilts, so I just have to arrange it and figure out how many blocks I have and put them back together in something that makes sense. Or I can use my personal fabric and make it a little bit bigger so I can kind of split the two colorways to get something a little bit more cohesive. But beautiful, beautiful fabrics. And for 10 bucks, you can't go wrong. Project number 11. These blocks, again, I found at an estate sale or an antique shop. And these are 6-pointed stars. And each of these pieces is the same fabric on all the blocks. I can't remember if there was one or two that had different, but I think they were all the same. And there's a variety of prints. I don't know if these are 30s fabrics. I haven't figured out the dating on these yet. Some of them are, like I think that's a feed sack. Just so many different designs. These I'm going to try to clean up a little bit. Some of them are faded and a little grungy. I'm going to try to clean them up with some retro clean, see if I can't get them to be a little bit brighter. And then I think I'll probably put a sashing in these, kind of separate them out a little bit, so I'll have to pick something that'll look good with all of them. But very fun project. And this one, on the note it says 35 hand-piece stars for $30. So pretty good bargain. Project number 12. This one is a quilt that is all together. It is like an Irish chain kind of look. There is a little bit of staining on this one, so I'll probably try to, again, clean that up with some retro clean, see if I can't get those stains out. And then these pieces here on the big white square that's in between, those were applique on. So I think this is like the basting, and then this was where they top stitched it with a machine. And I believe this one was one that was hand stitched in some places, like these are all hand stitched. And then in other places there was the machine quilt or machine stitching. So it'll be kind of interesting to look at the back of it and see where they were switching it up. But it's got an interesting, it wasn't made square, so I have to figure out how to trim it so that I can get it to be squared up. In this area, I'm thinking about doing some sort of applique or maybe some stitching that would really make this area pop. I love all the different prints that are in this quilt top. This is my bonus project. I am trying to make all the blocks, 100 of them, in this book called The Splendid Sampler 2. It's by Pat Sloan and Jade Davidson. And I actually had a block in this book when it first came out. My block was called Spinning Star. So if you have this book, you've got my block. I had a lot of fun doing that. It was really exciting and fun. And I have quite a few of the blocks made. I've been putting them in binder pages so that they wouldn't get wrecked and start to fray. But all the ones that I have finished are in here. And see, these are some of the pages that they sent us before the book came out, so we could kind of work ahead. But obviously I didn't do that because it's still not done. But I've had a lot of fun making the blocks so far. And it is time to get this project finished. Every time I look at the blocks, I just want to make more of them because they're so fun. I had started out with a layer cake with a certain colorway, but then I just kind of morphed into doing all sorts of different fabrics from my stash. So hopefully, if I can work on 2 or 3 blocks every month, I think I have about 60 of them done. But if I could work on 2 or 3 every month, I'd be that much closer to being finished with it. So pick out a bonus project if you want a little more to do in 24. Now that you've seen my projects and you're thinking about the projects you want to put in your buckets, it's time to pick the project that we're going to be working on in January of 2024. So I've got all these numbers on little pieces of paper. They're laminated, so they're going to last me all year. They lasted all of last year. Now I'm using them again this year. We're going to throw them in the bucket, and I'm not going to look, and we are going to draw a number. And the project that we're going to be working on in January is project number 10. So have fun working on that project, and we will see you at the beginning of February. Thanks for watching, and happy quilting!